Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Reviews, where today we have ourselves a track by an act named N7 featuring WhoDatt titled Sunshine. And if we switch over to here, we have ourselves a track on the screen on YouTube and we're going to listen through it from start till finish. We're going to hear what we think. Let's go.
Yeah. Look. Hey, I opened up my mind until it was out of sight. I'm out here grinding, I won't get no sleep tonight. I gotta eat, shoes on my feet, I'm feeling light. You're counting sheep, I'm counting money, I don't sleep at night. There's gotta be a way, I'll do what it takes, dodging the fakes, watch for the snakes. I wanna get home, I'm out on the road and it's getting late. I'm in my zone, I feel alone and there was so much to say. And then you went away, look, granddad I miss ya, can't believe that you're gone. I remember the time I spent with you, that's what's keeping me strong. Looking through all our pictures, you held me in your arms. A father bigger with heart, lead me through the dark. Live without you I can't, held your hand in my palms. Playing Bob Dylan songs, Superman t-shirt on. We all know what's going on, and then it all went so calm. Someone sounded the alarm, and like that you were gone. You treated me like your son.
I mean, like, you basically get the crux of it immediately. He's mourning someone who's passed, someone very dear and close to him. The drums are tight, the flow, the rhythm with the verse parts are great. Lots of variety there with the different grooves. And the keys are somber. And things reflect the mood really well. Overall, it makes a lot of sense.
We created the bond, always showing us love, showing us what was wrong, even when it got tough. It was you all along, told me not to give up. You said when you get stuck, you gotta follow your gut. Sometimes you get cut, doors open and shut, don't let it swallow you up. You got us out of the rut, when we had no luck, you were there for us. This way left me crushed, to the edge I was pushed, trying to hold it together because I'm surrounded by love. I can tell that none hurts, it's not about me, we're gonna try and make it work.
I think it would have been good to occasionally have had some double-tracked parts to focus on keywords there, but that said, having him in the center of the stereo field there, rapping alongside the lady vocalist in the background, doing some overdubs, is enough to add that emphasis I'm talking about here in a different way.
You don't know your worth and what it would mean to me to give you what you deserve.
Great choice of strings here, you know? And bell strings. Bell trees, should I say.
It's now or never, but I'm so fed up I don't know if I can get up. I got my head in my hands and it's time that I stand up. Yeah. Conversations with my brother, he paints pictures in color. Spoke about when we was younger and what drove us through the hunger. Then I phoned my mother and told her I love her. All we got is each other. When you come from the gutter, I don't want you to suffer. Could you please just be tougher? I don't know how you put up with me, I was a nutter. When you reached out to me, I closed down like a shutter. In my head there was clutter, making bread from my butter. Yeah.
I think it's great for him to be able to admit this about himself, to be open about that kind of thing. Like, you know, saying that he was a nutter as if he was a person who's very sort of like difficult to deal with. Things were very sort of messed up for him. He was trying to figure everything out. And this other person had the patience to be able to sort of like help him, you know? He just needed assistance and guidance, and this other person there was able to do that for them. You know, obviously very important to his family. I think that the continuation of that piano motif there with the occasional lady vocals on the back, it doesn't really need to do more than it is to carry it. I think the storytelling is interesting enough outside of that. This is why having a music video helps when you've actually got the rapper or the vocalist looking at you as if they're having that talk with you as they walk through and try and find that sunshine. I think it was nice to have that lady singer talking about trying to find that sunshine there. It kind of helps me to relate to what you know, we're going through here with the main vocalist.
Can you see me out here? Can you see me out here? Can you see me out here?
Could we have had more bass? Just for a bit more oomph in this chorus section? I can hear it, it's well balanced. I'm just wondering, you know? I mean, like, there's a little bit more vocal ornamentation in this part. I've gotten into a bit of trouble recently because I've been giving my opinions on tracks and the length of them. I'm hoping we do something with any of the other parts of the accompaniment here to kind of make it sparkle, because a lot of the focus is on the vocals, and that's fine. We have range with the different notes. We're adding further context and reiterating certain points. And there's some lovely tails on these melodies. It's beautiful. It's just, it'd be good if some of the other instruments also came in and kind of featured themselves a bit more as well, I suppose.
Wake me up when the sunrise.
I mean, it's smart stuff. We're going to get into the conclusion in a moment, but I just want to say, before my camera battery runs out, at that, I enjoyed my time with this, and I think it's going to be a reasonably positive conclusion to this. And welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from N7 featuring WhoDatt, titled Sunshine. What do I think this track is about? I mean, effectively, I think this track is about, someone working through the grief, the loss of someone incredibly important in their life, and the chorus lines, that's been in the verses speaking about what they meant to them, how they interacted, how they found each other, how things continued, and the loss that they suffered there. I think that the chorus vocals are all about trying to find that joy in life again, that hope, that positivity after that person is gone, and trying to find alternate reasons to inspire yourself, or I suppose continue living that same, continuing on that same journey as you were set on by this other person who was a positive influence, I suppose. I think that the vocals here that were telling the story, with a story that's quite wholesome and meaningful. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be able to relate to having people in their lives be that individual for them, hopefully, because obviously people not getting the support they needed would absolutely suck. So I hope a lot of people have had people like that in their lives to help them. But I think outside of that, the heartfelt story is told by a rapper who clearly has a deep attachment to the person they're describing and, I suppose, communicating to through the song, as if they're having a direct conversation about it with the listener about it. And then, of course, we have the backing vocalist, the lady there, and she is singing wonderfully. Great performance there, nice foil to the more rhythmic, groove-oriented rap parts there. With lots of range between 8th and 16th and triplet notes there. We had sensational coloration in that mid to higher range there with some lovely vocal tails, a bit of ornamentation with the vibratos, and it was great. We had iteration of various other messages near the end as well, but basically the verses for the storytelling, the choruses were another way. WhoDatt, he came in to do the last quadrants of each times of the chorus to seg and sync between the two, but I think that each person who vocalized within this track had their own strengths, and when they came together, it was great, and separately they were good as well. So yeah, it was well done. I made a comment there about wanting to have had maybe double-tracked vocals from the rapper at some point, just for a bit of extra size to it, but I think if we were going to have the chorus where it was sung as opposed to rap, you could have probably gotten away with that, and I think there was enough, variety within the performance to justify not having those. So I amend that statement. I think that the track at 4:47, it's long. it's a long track. It's, outside the 2 to 4 minute sweet spot nowadays. A lot of musicians, should I say, a lot of listeners who, are still looking for music. Typically, they go for shorter tracks because they're easy to sort of like absorb and digest. And it can be a risk to make a longer form punt, but I think that it was smart to do it in this way because there was so much that needed to be said. I'm not entirely sure if we needed to have as much iteration of various facets of the chorus or the extension of that at the end as we did, but at the same time, I think that there was still change there. It wasn't the same hook line being repeated over and over again. It wasn't just the motif being repeated ad hominem until like a really long fade out or something. There was diversity there, which was welcome. I think that there was a great motif there with the combination of the drums, the piano, and the bass there, which was really nice and subtle. But I know I also mentioned I would have liked more bass in the choruses, but I think that maybe if we wanted a cleaner mix there with not too much sub-bass resonance, that was probably the way to go. It might have been a really filthy 808, that just needed to be tamed. With the different 8th and 16th note accents on the snares and kicks and hi-hats were solid. And the piano served 2 functions basically. It was the main point of presence for like the chord progressions within the piece, and it also had some lovely little arpeggiated broken chord parts with the da 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 dun as a kind of call and response for some of the vocal parts within the chorus, and it was charming. There was a lot of care taken, I think, to not overcomplicate the arrangement in regards to the instruments within it, which I think is a smart idea, because the last thing you want when you're releasing music is for the accompaniment potentially overwhelm the story, whether in terms of people being distracted by it because of what's going on with the various other components within the backing, or simply because the music overwhelms the listener and alienates from the story that's being told. Especially in, genres like hip-hop and rap, you really need the vocals to be the focal point, as that's the expectation from the listener. And we had that here. I think that it was well structured. I mean, like, it's a contemporary way of doing things with the verses and choruses and having the extensions and iterations at the end. I'm glad that it was the length it was. The only thing I would have said is I think there still could have potentially have been, actually I'm not sure if there could have been another lead instrument within this. As far as I'm aware, I know I keep saying the lady singer. The lady vocalist, as I understand, is uncredited, but if they're watching this, I want you to know that you did a great job too. Okay? The singers on this did a great job, and I think the accompaniment was solid too. The motif basically sounded like someone looking back at the good old days, maybe alternatively where they come from and how much things have improved. They're reminiscing and doing some introspection and just, looking back. The memories, almost the nostalgia for it, and coming to terms with the new reality that we just have to just kind of cope with, and that's just the way the cookie crumbles, But it was mature, and I think it suited the vocals and the story well. Finally, through the use of the traditional major and minor chords and the space within it, with a lack of kind of pumping it full of arguably unnecessary extra additional instrumental elements. But finally, we had the studio recording, mixing and mastering, which was solid. I'm really happy with the way things were done there. The vocals were nice and present, whether they were the sung backing or the main rapped vocals in the center. There were beltries that went as like transitional devices here, and I think they were great. And the reason I think they were great is because they explored the stereo field, and you could kind of telegraph that was what was going to happen. We're going to go back to that chorus. The drums were nice and full in the mix. The bass was nicely controlled in the low end. I think there was a lack of sub-bass resonance that was actually kind of welcome here, because often you can just push it too far. It becomes almost a little bit grotesque, even if you are sidechaining it with the percussive elements there. The keys sat on top and danced around the place in both the frequency spectrum and stereo field, and it was very pleasant to listen to. And I think the combination of those elements necessitates a mention of the fact that there was dynamic range to this. It didn't seem like it was the same loudness the entire time. There was like life to it. There was this room between the average loudness of notes in the ceiling, which made it seem a little bit, which meant that if you listen to this, you wouldn't it isn't overcompressed, should I say. And I think as well, the track was nice and loud regardless. So its bus compression and limiting was handled. I mean, ultimately, this is my review of this track from N7 featuring WhoDatt, titled Sunshine, and hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go show us some love via the various social medias and the YouTube page. And stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they either help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world, and I'll catch you in the next review. Spiderhands Out.